Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the regulation side of it, because you've covered the technology side there nicely. On the regulatory side, obviously everyone has to work with FDA and other regulatory bodies, and it's always a little dangerous to go too public with any negative comments. Having said that, what I've been hearing from people, behind the scenes too, is that FDA and others are getting pretty high marks for being nimble during this time with COVID-19, in terms of encouraging decentralized trials and remote monitoring and other technologies. Do you see that going, where do you see that a year from now? Do you think we're going to keep that momentum?
So we completely agree, by the way, on the high mark side. FDA, EMA, and other regulators have, I think, done an extraordinary job of encouraging adaptation. And so we have nothing but good things to say about that. Now, my caution, I suppose, is that to some extent the regulators have been saying, by the way, this regulatory flexibility is during the period of the public health crisis. And they do not state, but we are somewhat concerned that may suggest, we sort of return to the status quo ante at some point. And that, I think, would be a mistake. So I think the regulators, and we should mention both regulators and our industry as a whole. So our industry as a whole is pretty cautious.
Sure.
We tend to be risk averse. Sponsors, clinical research organizations, even sites to some extent, tend to be risk averse. We are exquisitely aware of how important the data is. And so anything that might threaten the data and threaten the experience of those patients providing data is something that we are in some ways reluctant. So the tension here is between the real potential for making major changes and significant changes, and at the same time being sure that we don't move away from the regulatory standards, nor that we spook, for lack of a better word, our own marketplace in terms of those changes. So that I think will be a tension that we're going to continue to see. I mean, I think that in the next year or so, there will be those who are sort of moving full speed ahead, who say, look at what we've learned. Look at how we can do this in other ways. And then there will be those on the other side who say, yeah, but I've got a drug that's really important, and I need to be absolutely sure that the regulator will be able to approve this drug in the end. And so, as I said, there'll be some tension, but I think our industry has lived with that kind of tension for a long time. But again, I think we're moving kind of quickly now.